There's a season for trapping birds. And you ride around and you look for them in the trees, on fence posts. And she pointed out, you see them a lot on power lines and power poles. And you put your trap out and wait for them to come down to it. But you can only trap a bird of prey that is what they call a passage bird. And that means the bird has left the nest but has not yet reached its first birthday. And the way you can tell that with a red-tailed hawk is he has a red tail. If he's less than a year old, his tail would not be red, it would be brown bands, brown and black bands. So if you're looking for a bird and it already has a red tail, you cannot trap it. Anybody else? Okay. ChooChoo just turned 1. So this is his first red tail. It's coming quite nice. And I have all of his baby feathers in a book. Okay. She asked about where places you can fly a red-tailed hawk. And that's something that, to fly him, find them. Well, you can find a red-tailed hawk just about anywhere. Neighborhoods, in the woods. Next time you're just out riding around, if you're going to town or going over to a friend's house, if you just keep your eyes open, looking at the power lines and the power poles, you'll see them.
You want this? Okay.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
Your hand.
Oh, that's a good question. And it's something I didn't mention, but since you brought it up, when and I don't know who came up with this, but kind of the universal call for "I found a squirrel, come over here and get it" is "ho ho ho." And when he hears that, he knows to look. Or if other people are helping me hunt in the woods, and we hear that, that means there's a squirrel over there. I'm not sure where it came from, but it's ho ho ho. Good question. Yes. Yes. There is mainly a size difference. The females are about 1/3 larger than the males. So, kind of as a rule of thumb, if you see a hawk sitting on the power line, that's a male because they tend to be smaller. If it's sitting on top of the pole, like a larger perch, probably a female. Just kind of a general, rule of thumb. But the females, if you see a really big red-tailed hawk, it's going to be a female. Those can get upwards of 3.5 pounds. ChooChoo here is just under 2. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. No, this is actually my 3rd bird. I've been doing this for about 4 years now, so ChooChoo's my third bird, but he's going on his 2nd season. They're released. A lot of falconers will trap and hunt with a bird for 1 or 2 seasons, and then you release them back to the wild. And I know one thing a lot of people are wondering about, they get the idea that the bird is kind of imprinted because, it's spent a couple years with me, walking around on my fist and being fed by humans. But the beauty of falconry, and if you trap them at the right time when they're a passage bird, is that before you release it, you just spend less and less time with the bird. Like, instead of feeding it on the glove, I would just put the food near his perch and not spend any time with him. And that relationship that we have dissolves, and they will take right back to the wild when you release them. Yes, sir. his birthday, I call it September 14th. But I'm not really sure. I wasn't there when he was hatched, but that's right around the time that I got him. I just know he's won because he has the red tail. Yes, sir. I've heard of instances like that. He asked about, weeks later if I was out and, happened to see the bird, if he might remember me or something like that. I've heard of stories like that. What I've done in the past is I've driven far, far away. I kind of need closure, like I don't want to release him in the backyard, where we might cross paths again. But I guess that's always a possibility. You just never know with that sort of thing. But, right. Good question. Okay. Oh, nobody's asked me that yet. Sometimes, the birds might get lost. Well, when ChooChoo and I go fly, I put a little radio transmitter on his leg. So even if he does fly away, I can track him. It's like a little radio, a telemetry radio I put on his leg so I can keep up with him. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I've been, if I do want to travel, say for a couple of weeks, what I end up doing is finding another falconer that will take care of the bird. When I go to the in-laws for a week or two, we kind of take over the screened-in porch, and he lives out there for that time, yeah. So it can be tricky, but it can be done. Yes, actually the boxes I have on that back table back there is what they travel in. And it's just big enough, it has a small perch in it. And I kind of back him in there, and when I close it, there's no light. And once the lights are out, he becomes completely calm and at peace, and he rides just fine. He'll ride just fine for hours in there if I needed to. You may have seen on some of the programs where they put a hood on a falcon or a bird of prey. It's kind of the same thing. It's like turning off the lights. And when they can't see, they just calm down. Okay, yes ma'am. Okay, yes. That he lives in? The minimum for the accommodations for a bird is 8x8. Like an 8x8 room or house, or it's a big bird cage is basically what it is. It's called a mew in falconry terms. So he has an 8x8 mew, and then there's also a 12x16 weathering yard just where he can sit out and soak up some sun and get rained on and some of that stuff. So. Well, I want to thank everybody for your time. Thank you very much. I'm going to hand it back over to Sarah.
Thank you, John, and thank you, ChooChoo. Our last act for the evening, we are privileged to have Jim Fitzer here. He's Chattanooga's storyteller. If you've never heard Jim, you need to stay put because he will make you laugh. He's a great friend of the Tennessee River Gorge Trust, and we are so glad to have him here. So.